everything that Bob did. And when I was trying to prepare the speech, I was thinking, what really encapsulates Bob? I think the phrase "go big or go home" really fits him. Because when he had his marching band program, he got as many kids in this community involved. Even myself, if I was in this community, I would be in a marching band, even though I'm completely musically illiterate. He would have included me graciously. So he has so much energy with the Marengo band community, with the fine arts community, and with summer with arts. He was and always will be a treasure to the Marengo community. I found out he took his. I just found this out this month that he went to Nova Scotia to the Arctic Circle. He went to Colorado. I even found out someone fell off a horse. He had, and he brought a huge amount of pleasure and experience to the Marengo community. It's really the committee's honor to induct him to the Hall of Fame because he's been an important part of our MCHS community. So I want to congratulate him personally and on behalf of the committee. So I want to introduce Sally Butso, which I'm sure many that you know, a longtime Marengo resident, and one of my favorite bus drivers. Sally.
Good evening. Well, things never change. I just got ragged on for having a script. Okay? And I said, well, I'm going to stay with it tonight. Robert Bob Turk, the Music Man. This was his handle on the CB radio during his first jazz band trip to Colorado. They all had CB names there. We had Florence Nightingale in attendance tonight. We also had String Bean. This truly fits the man. I can remember many, many events through the years of his teaching at MCHS, but I'm going to keep it short tonight. There are many of you sitting in the audience, and I think we're up to thousands right now, of former students and former band parents that would love to share more. As recent as yesterday morning at 7 o'clock in the middle of Route 23 with one of his former students and another former student as I walked into the program tonight with memories. Bob's first thought was the education of the student through encouragement and giving them the opportunity to try all aspects of the fine arts. He would go on to expose the students to travel from the Rocky Mountains, playing concerts all along the way, including cows, north to the Arctic Circle and Hudson Bay, to perform for the students at the Churchill, Manitoba. That's polar bear capital of the world. This is where he did a demonstration of instruments for the staff at the Churchill School and the students there. I had never seen one done before. He'd take apart each instrument with one of our students and show each student up there in Churchill that you can still play the instrument even if you didn't have all the pieces. After he did the demo in the afternoon, the jazz band performed for a community dance. We went south to Florida, performing at Disney World and SeaWorld. West to California to perform at Disneyland and SeaWorld. East to Maine and Nova Scotia, up the Canadian route, giving the kids the opportunity to sail on the North Atlantic, and then performing for all the students in the community in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. On those trips, he would make sure students would see the Pacific Ocean, whether they wanted to or not, Hudson Bay, Atlantic Ocean, and the Gulf of Mexico. These trips included a cast of 25 at a time to traveling with 175 students. He would also make sure that our Midwest kids could play on the sand beaches. Marengo students were famous for their games on the beach. In fact, these games kids would create for the beach, and that included sand castle building. The students actually stopped the beach walkers down in Florida because the beach walkers, they just loved seeing high school kids having just plain old ordinary fun. Bob was a judge and the referees for these games too. You can read into that what you'd like. His commitment to the students was unparalleled. Through his teaching, he would find a spot for the student in the field shows. This could be working equipment and props, or playing a character part. Eventually, many of those students found themselves playing an instrument somewhere. If the student was having trouble with music, or within their classes, he would make sure that another student was there to help them get through that class or to tutor them, or he would take it on himself. Bob included the students in creating field shows through the music with the students' ideas. He developed field shows. He would create these shows that were always pleasing to the eye and also making it fun and educational for the kids as well, and bringing out the creative juices of each student. Some of these special effects were magic cubes. I think I've only got one left. And when they went off, it looked like little stars twinkling on the field. The fire extinguishers with smoke, and I know we have one lady here tonight that's real familiar with the smoke going on. Magic tricks, balloons, and skits that would match the music that the kids were playing at the time. Bob started with 42 students, and the marching Indians continued to grow to approximately 175, including the auxiliary line. He was just as nervous on the sidelines as the kids were as they took the field. I remember him saying on one occasion, as he stood by the front line, "I am just spitting cotton," as the kids began their show. He never failed to meet them as they came off the field of competition. Holiday concerts filled the auditorium with the choir, the auxiliary line, and the concert band. If the choir director became ill that night, Bob was there to direct them, the choir. He had an open door policy to his office. Any student was welcome to come and chat with a problem, an idea, or a question. This open door was also for his fine arts staff. He would mentor these new teachers to the staff of MCHS, helping them with whatever problem or new thought that they might have. The winter or spring concerts consisted of a turkey or a beef dinner fundraiser. All students were on hand to entertain the community. Moms, dads, grandmas, and grandpas, and family members. This too grew to feeding the 12,000. At 3 settings on a Saturday afternoon, kids were in charge of serving them, as well as entertaining the crowd. All Bob had to say was, "Showtime!" and the excitement was at its peak. Monday morning would come along, and Bob realized the energy that the kids had put on into the shows through the weekends. And he'd give them the time to work on homework or R&R during band time. The next day, Tuesday, they were all back at rehearsing. It was during one of these rehearsals that Bob had been working with the brass section most of the hour on a key change and a tempo change. "Well," he said, "we'll do it one more time." Well, they did it 3 more times. The bell rang. With that, he closed his music and went into the office. As it would happen, he let them know that tomorrow would be a better day. They did succeed the next day. He never gave up on his students. Many times students and kids would try to get away with uniform changes. White or no socks was an absolute no-no. You just didn't do this. You were in uniform and you did not march. The first Florida trip, the equipment students that went along, they had planned to, but they found some uniforms that they had taken with. And they pulled on some black socks. I'm not sure if they marched barefoot or if they pulled them over their tennis shoes, but they were at the end of the band marching. In one trip, we had a tuba player. Well, he thought he was ready to go. Oops, he didn't have any socks on. Well, guess what? Tuba and all, he had to go back and find some black socks. He caught up to the band, tuba and all, just as the band was starting to go down Main Street at Disney World. Bob had set standards for the band, and they would adhere to them. Bob's bands had performed for the White Sox games at Comiskey Park, Milwaukee County Stadium, and the Chicago Bears Green Bay Packers game with Jim McMahon quarterback. You'll remember that one. Competed in the Tropicana Bowl at Soldiers Field. Bob has given the gift of music to thousands of students in the Marengo Union area. This is a gift of music that no one can take away from the students. Thanks, Bob.
Wow, super duper. I tell you, this is quite a deal. I stand here honored and humbled. My time in Marengo was very special to me. And as everybody knows, the success counts on a lot of people for being there, and which is true in my case. There are a lot of people that helped me create what we were able to put together. First of all, I'd like to thank my family and my kids for putting up with the erratic schedule that I had, the nights and the weekends that I was gone. And then my students that I had, I always felt they were phenomenal. And every year we get to the seniors would be graduating, and I think, my God, how am I going to replace these guys? And lo and behold, the next class came up, and they were just as super and energetic as the class before them. And I thank them for all their efforts and the hours of rehearsals to make the performances go. I'd also like to thank my two cohorts, my assistants Carol Carr and Sally Butzo, who were there to tie up all those loose ends, which I had a tendency to forget about, and keep us on track and talking about uniforms and getting uniforms put together. Also, the music parents group was very, very supportive, financially and emotionally, just being there for the kids. And last but not least, I'd like to thank the superintendents and the school boards that put up with some of my silliness. Walk into the school board and say, well, look, I'd like to take 30 kids up to the Arctic Circle. That takes a lot of patience and understanding. But especially Bob Seaver and Bob Hogan and Les Hellman, who were the three administrators that developed the music co-op, and then hired me to run the music co-op. And it was because of that music co-op that gave the music staff finally the ability to move within all the districts, and we could have an instrumental instructor going out to Riley and Union and Hawthorne, and general music specialists in the classrooms. And that co-op unfortunately has died, but that was the reason we were successful. And so a big thanks to those board members and the administrators, in which I think I counted, I worked for 19 different superintendents over the time. Basically at the high school, only Bob Hogan and Bob Seaver and finally Jerry Trickett. But those little schools out there had the superintendent of the year. But anyway, thank you very much. This has been wonderful.